Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Adoptees podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Adrian Burks. Looking forward to our chat today, Adrian. Really looking forward to it, my friend.
Me too, Simon.
So, Adrian was an American footballer. This is what I've
Hmm.
just learned today. And you
Yeah.
in Division One of
Yep.
college.
Yep.
So, it just goes to show you what you learn every day speaking to people. Uh, so, Thriving Adoptees. What does that mean to you, Adrian?
Thriving adoptees. Well, as you so put it with your rubric of thrive, I think taking it into my own definition, I would say a thriving adoptee is someone who is able to cope and to live in the world, going through daily lives, through all, whether it be trauma or not trauma, or through their own shared experiences. I think thriving is, being able to comprehend what you went through, to understand as best as you can what you went through, and to be able to navigate the world in the space that feels beneficial and good to you and your family, if you have one. I feel like I'm thriving at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I I just wrote down feel good there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I want to I haven't said it recently, so I only probably said it about 500 episodes ago. Um, thriving doesn't always mean feeling good in my definition of the
Uh,
word thriving,
uh,
right?
you,
So
yeah.
yeah.
For me, it's not necessarily when I say feel good, it's not, oh, I'm being happy and stuff. It's managing expectations, right? So like feeling good is being able to adhere and to recognize the things that you went through so that you could navigate the space. And I just say feel good because it feels good regardless of the mood that I'm in, whether I'm sad, whether I'm angry, whether I'm frustrated, whether I'm happy, to recognize that feeling in itself is a looking back out of it in a thorough like perspective that feels good. I feel like so often I have been in the past, or just things have been unable to recognize the situation or feeling that I've had or have am going through. But I feel like it feels good in a sense to have the recognition regardless of the actual mood that you're feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Uh, I think so. So let me take a run at this. On one level, it's about recognizing what's going on for you
Mm-hmm.
and kind of being okay with what's going on for you. So the opposite would be fighting the feelings. Is that
Mm-hmm.
kind of what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. uh I have for a long time have fought the feeling, or like if something was come up, like no, that's not it. Don't care. Like I just would push it down and not have the actual recognition of what I was going through at the time. Uh, and so having the recognition of that. Hmm.
So as well as being a football player, and I'm talking
Hmm.
American football, obviously, people,
Yeah,
not soccer.
American football guys,
Um,
not football.
it, it,
What you love?
Adrian is also you were an actor, and director, producer, right? You
Hmm.
still do it
Hmm.
because when you started going into when you started talking about the different feelings, you went
Yeah,
into kind of actor mode.
yeah,
Yeah, where you were living it. Do you
yeah,
know what I mean? Your
yeah.
face changed, the whole thing. It wasn't like, so I would do it like whether I'm feeling sad, tired, depressed, right? And I'm quite monotone about it, but there was
Hmm.
when you
Oh yeah,
did,
I'm
you were
expressive, as
you were
I'm like,
expressing it.
like feel good. Like I
You're
feel like, yeah,
capturing it.
I am extremely expressive. I think also too, like I'm the journey that I'm taking right now, that I'm embarking on, gives me the space to be able to feel all the things that I'm going through right now as I am going to meet my biological father, as I am interviewing other adoptees, as I am getting their stories that are wide range variety of different outcomes and shared and different experiences. It's allowed me to really kind of live in that expressive state, to be able to connect with other people that I am currently working with.
Yeah. We'll get onto that in a minute. Because I do want to give you lots of opportunity to share about that, Adrian.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah. No worries.
listeners, he's Adrian's up to something really cool within this, within this space. You use the word comprehend. You're talking about
Mm-hmm.
comprehending your feelings. I think comprehending your feelings, comprehending
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
story. Sorry, comprehending trauma. I had this big light bulb moment last week when I went to an adoption conference
Mm-hmm.
down in London, and people were talking about adoptees' behaviors, adopted kids' behavior, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Interesting.
from what I can gather, the biggest challenge that adoptive parents have is our behavior,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're basically trauma-driven behavior. So
Mm-hmm.
anger-driven violence would be one
Mm-hmm.
example of this, right? So that's their biggest challenge with us.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was thinking about where do we feel? Where are as adoptees on where are we on that? And I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about the fact that we don't remember the trauma. The trauma is pre-verbal, it's
Mm-hmm.
pre-memory, it's precognition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't understand the drivers of our behavior.
Yeah.
So we're confused about our behavior,
Mm-hmm.
and they're as adoptees, as adopted kids, until we come out of the fog, right? So until we come out of the fog, like I didn't come out of the fog till I was 40, right? So for 40 years, I didn't comprehend, to use your word, right? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
comprehend. I didn't not comprehend. It's bigger than that. I wasn't even aware
Aware.
of
Yeah.
it.
That's the word. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of it. So, so the adoptive parents, their biggest problem is our behavior. Uh, and as adoptees, we don't know the cause of our behavior. I, and so the world continues on
You know,
until we help kids understand the drivers of their behavior.
100%. You know what's crazy, or not crazy, but what's extremely interesting about that is often too, like, I thought I was out of the fog before. I realized in the last year or two that there are some things that I never was unaware that they were um, a cause of some of my reactions to things. That they were good. Like I said, I thought that right before high school. That our me and my twin brother story is very very interesting and different. Where I have a like, there are no two stories that are the same or like, and everyone differs, but ours is very very unique as well. And we had a lot of things that happened to us that let us face some of the things that we had growing up, but also things that we were, like you said, unaware of, that we didn't know there was a cause of why we react to the way things we do. And I thought that I was out of the fog and stuff. But even more recently, in the last, like, I would say 2 years, to be more precise, is there things that I was unaware of even now? Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, and I'm going to try and sum it up more precisely than I summed up the big light bulb moment that I had last week, right? We come out of the fog, 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 right? So
No.
there's probably one big moment, and then
Hmm.
it's a series of little moments that will
Yep.
go on for the rest of our lives.
And that is what I am finding. I thought that there was a more complete way. I thought, oh, I'm good, I'm done. No, it continues.
And how do you feel about it continuing?
Oh, I think, well, I mean, there was a couple, like, you know, circumstantial factors that make me feel the way that I feel. But to answer your question, how I feel is it feels, it feels a couple things. It feels rewarding. I also feel a little annoyed, to be honest. And I think all of the feelings in between. I feel a little annoyance, a little frustration. I also feel excited that there is more, and also like why I thought that I had, I thought we were done here.
Yeah. So if there's one word to sum all that up, would it be mixed?
It's a definitely mixed bag.
Definitely
Yes, it's
mixed.
a mixed bag of feelings.
Okay. Right.
As a father, I think too, right? I'm doing a lot of like inner child work and addressing some things and having these conversations, especially as a father. Sometimes you kind of revisit those things as you play with your kid and have those moments. Um, there are some things that I have found that I was like, woo, some extreme light bulb moments, like, oh, of course, that's why I do that and feel that. And of course, I should have paid attention to those things, but like they just weren't. Oh, I wasn't aware of those things. But as a, like I said, as a father, um it's helped me be able to address those things, especially um, well, you know, living in that space of creativity and fun, and also as watching him navigate the world and things that come to him that are blows his mind, and then having those conversations with him also um, reignites my thoughts on those things.
Yeah. Can you give me an example? And the listeners, of course.
Yeah, yeah. For example, um, he heard a conversation that I was having with my adopted father. Um, and I basically was telling him that, hey, I just want to let you know that my biological father reached out and we connected, and I'm embarking on this journey. And then my son was like, huh? What did he, well, Grandpa Mark, that's your dad. I was like, he is my dad, father, but I had to explain to him, and he was just so baffled by the fact, like, he didn't understand. And he's like, so your real dad didn't love you? I said, I don't know about all that, but I think they're trying to explain to him in his 6-year-old brain. He was just baffled because he has so much love from both of his parents, for me and his mother. And I think it was really hard for him to wrap that around, of like the non traditional, whatever that is, family. I know me and his mother aren't together, but like the sense of like having both parents and involved in her life. We are his biological parents who were there, support him, love. He has a lot of family which take care, and me not having that for years, and then finding that, and then having the conversation with him. It was extremely hard for him to wrap his head around, and just moving and not living in the same place or moving from many different states and moving around so much because he's been here his whole life and has a little bit more of a routine. So it was very interesting trying to describe that to him and watching his response.
So, how do you think you did with that stuff as a kid?
How I thought it was normal as a kid. For my, you mean for myself or for me looking at him?
Yeah, for you, for yourself, right? So, let me ask you a question, let make it a bit more specific, right? So,
Mhm.
do you remember what age you were when your adoptive parents told you that you were adopted?
So our situation is we had the understanding of it when we were around 5 or 6, 6 maybe years old, and it was just a single mother at first until she got married. So I knew that even when she married him, that he was adopting us. So I knew that. Um,
Do you remember how
yeah, I
old,
do.
do you remember how old you were when she told you?
Yes,
How old were you?
we were around. I want to say 5. Is and
You
then
were
we
around five,
she
yeah.
told us, and we were actually aware of that she wasn't our mom, but also we had seen this woman and recognized her verse as her mom. So there was some type of
Yeah. Okay.
experience and in our life and involvement in our life in a sense from our
Yeah.
biological mother.
So it was normal. You just like it was not normal was what?
Well, I thought, why doesn't she love us? Why isn't our mom with us? Why are we with you? I remember me and my brother asking those questions, like she didn't want us or what happened, like not being able to actually voice that exactly, but having that feelings and trying our best to express that to our
Yeah.
adopted mom. And then we didn't know our dad at all, so like there was no like I thought my uncles were my father for like the first. We met our adopted father when we were like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So having the experience that, oh my God, I have so many dads, and I had like 6 uncles who we would hang out with stuff and cousins, and I just thought that all of them were our dads because we didn't have that. And then
Yeah.
having that realization, like, wait, who's our dad? Where is he? And there was never really any like much information on him, or they didn't have much to share with us at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
just thought that was like normal for a while.
Yeah. So your son's confused and so are you.
Hmm. Yeah, again confused for because I was confused at that age, so it makes sense that he's confused, but confused in because of the difference in how our experiences, which is
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's a slightly different sort of confusion. Yeah. Okay. So
mhm,
it's about the different circumstances as well as the story. Okay. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Um, fast fast forward. Do you remember your kind of big or biggest, should we say, coming out of the fog moment?
I do. I actually just revisited that with my inner power like childhood connection therapist that I work with.
Yeah.
She's my good friend, and yeah, I just revisited a couple of those moments that I've had, and yeah, I do.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing one of them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. Um, I remember, and this is where I drew this picture, and then okay, so I'm just going to tell you a precursor before I go into this.
Sure.
And
At the time.
there was I we were revisiting this moment, and she told me with her left hand, like draw an experience of this age group that you remember, something that just comes up to mind. Like ask yourself the question on your right hand, on your like adult parenting hand, and now with your left hand on your creativity hand, this is your child. Like think about it, give yourself love, experience, and like what do you remember at these experience from this age? And I remember we were around 4 or 5, and um, I remember the door being opened and our people coming into the house, having the realization. I didn't put it together until this last weekend, really, because I asked one of my uncles. But like a familiar face coming in and taking us out of this house where we it was just Aaron and I for days. And um, I had the realization at that time that we were being rescued, which is crazy at the time to have that kind of understanding because our biological mother had left us there. And I remember my grandmother, my uncle coming and rescuing us from this place and just taking us out of this situation. And I remember leaving that place and never going back. And drawing that picture was like, whoa, what is this? And then asking my uncle, and he's like, that was me. My Uncle Terry was like, yeah, that was me and your grandma and um, Cynthia, who is my adopted mom. We took you out of there. And he told us that story. And that was the first realization. I'm like, I thought we were being rescued and we never went back to that place, which was our house at the time. So I found that to be like very, very interesting and kind of profound at a young
Yeah.
age. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then revisiting it as adult was like extremely interesting.
And you said, sorry, did you say you were 4 or 5 then? Four?
Yeah.
Four. Um,
Which is why I'd see things in pictures and stuff, but like description was not there. So revisiting and seeing, I know there was the person and this person, and they took us, and we were going here, and the house, there was stuff all over the house, and the door was open, but I don't remember faces, like specifically who it was, or when or where. I mean, I know where, but not what time and all those things. But then, revisiting those and having that. And then I went to go help my grandmother this weekend, which is why I was gone. And my uncle was there helping her with some work around the house and just talking to him about it. And he's like, yeah, Adrian, that was me. And then I was like, wait, really? I just had this experience it was like 2 weeks ago. And that was, he was like, yeah. And then he told me more detail about the story and what happened. I was like, and then I looked back at the picture that I drew and I was like, yo, that's insane. That's so crazy how I have this non-descriptive but understanding broad picture of what happened and then revisiting that and talking and then that being confirmed. I just found that extremely very, very intriguing to me.
Intriguing. And when you were working with the therapist on this,
Mm-hmm.
how was your reaction? How did you feel when that came up for you?
At first, I was a little bit like, whoa, I thought it was a little weird and very, very like, okay, I didn't know how to process those feelings, but then, excuse me, how we ended that and came back is the outlook and like changing your, not changing, but like adding your perspective and perception on as an adult. I felt really warm and very, very happy about the ending results of that. Because what she did, which is very, very cool and interesting, is to not implant, but give you a different solution of ending of that story. So having your adult self come in and help rescue and be there for your younger self and could we ask those questions and being there and saying, hey, I got you. I'm here. You're listened to. I support you. And you don't ever have to go through that again. And for me, I found that super comforting.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, oh, okay, wow. And I was like, I didn't know how to process that feeling. But when we ended and talked about it and revisited that and that same thing, and then answer with our right hand and then respond with our left, and then answer and imagine and picture that image of you as an adult going to, because you're talking to your inner childhood self, basically, that I see, with my son. Um, it felt very comforting,
Yeah.
honestly. Mm-hmm.
So I just want to throw in this because I saw something that speaks to this this morning actually. So a guest who's been on the podcast, an adoptee who's been on the podcast, Liz DeBetter. She runs courses. She's a writing, a
Mm-hmm.
professor of writing. I don't know if she's a professor, but she got a doctorate, Dr. Liz DeBetter. Um, and she runs these. Uh, she runs writing courses, and it's called
Uh-huh.
Migrating to Wholeness. Migrating to
Uh-huh.
And I got an email from her this morning. I'm on her email list and other pops, and I looked at some of the stuff that she's doing. But one of her parts of her model that she has developed and then teaches through this migrating to wholeness. It talked about identity, and it talked about um, the big self caring for the little self,
Yes,
and that's
that
what you've expressed to me.
that, and it was honestly, it was like, I mean, I get excited about it because like I
No,
just
no,
thought that's
please don't. That's fine. Yeah, I'm
I'll
joking,
carry you.
right?
I
Please do get excited about it,
I got
Adrian.
really excited, and the fact that you said that because I was like, yeah, it was very very interesting to revisit and have that be the solution and overall encompassing fact of how it ended. And I found it super amazing that your older self being there to protect your inner self, your younger self, when you at those times may have felt that was no one was there for you, and then revisiting because it's you, not someone else, which is another thing that you deal with too, is like that, but it's you who's doing the act for yourself, and being able to like separate the two but also bring them together. Man, it was very 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 very, it was very comforting for me, and I found
Yeah,
it extremely intriguing and interesting. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was a possible thing.
yeah. Um, and I'm going to give the guy another name check here, right? But we do this all. I mention this guy all the time, right? And so the guy's called Dick Schwartz, Richard Schwartz.
Hmm.
His book is called No Bad Parts, and the 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 parts are um, the parts coincide with relate to are us at different stages, right? So
Hmm.
there's the 4 year old Adrian.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a 4 year old Adrian who is disorientated,
Hmm.
about leaving the home, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then there might be another guy and another part of Adrian, right? So that might be the first time a girl broke up with you, or it might be the first time, I don't know, like fill in
Yeah.
blanks, right? So
Yeah.
maybe
No, it's true.
when like when you so for little Simon, okay, like let me talk about me and Simon. It's sort of pontificating on you, right? So there's little Simon who is 10 years old, and he has lost his what we call rucksack, what you call backpack in the
Hmm.
States. He's lost his backpack. Uh, the other kid, another kid on the bus, is taking the mickey out of him, right, for having lost his backpack.
Yeah,
And little Simon just hits the guy, right?
I know that feeling.
Okay, so that's a little angry Simon, and then I can think of I can think of little Simon being uh, um, bullied or dropped from the rugby because
Hmm.
clearly we didn't play American football at school, right?
That's
But
very
dropped from
similar
the
though.
dropped from the rugby team, right, at 13. I can remember I can remember my eyes prickling with
Hmm.
tears at being dropped from the team and me turning away from the rest of the people so that because it's not cool to cry when you're a 13-year-old kid,
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah. So there's all these different parts. There's all these different parts.
Yeah.
And there is the uppercase S self, Simon,
Hmm.
right? So that's big Simon, big Adrian, big anybody, right? It's the essence of who we are. It's the internal nurturer, shall we? I've
Hmm.
never said that word before.
I
But
love that word.
that person, that internal, that person, that being, that essence, that's who we are, right? And
Yeah.
all the trauma is in the parts.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no trauma in the nurturing uppercase S
Correct.
Simon, right? And that's who we are. So there's
You know, sorry, go
little
ahead,
little
continue.
Simon, slightly bigger Simon, middle-sized Simon, grown-up Simon. There's all those different Simons, and then there's uppercase S Simon. And
Yep.
uppercase S Simon is he's like Teflon, right? There's no trauma has stuck to his pan.
Yeah. Honestly, you hit on that, on everything that you said. You hit on so many points, and so many points that I have found to be super relevant to now. And actually, we make up one thing specific that you said is like the trauma. There is no trauma near as an adult, but there's trauma here. And trauma, and what I've learned specifically is like, right, like like experiencing trauma is because at that time as a child, as an adolescent, is experiencing that or being abandonment or all those feelings come from a place of your survival reliant on someone else to be able to help you. As a kid, you as a child, is you experience those trauma and those abandonment things that you dealt with when I had dealt with at a younger age, because at that time is you're reliant on support to live, to survive, in a sense. And so it shifts as an adult. Like there are things that you can have as traumatic experience, of course, and things like that, but the feeling of the actual root of that abandonment specifically is not felt because you aren't dependent on someone else for survival, in a sense. And going back to what you said
Can I jump
earlier,
in? Can
huh?
I jump in? No,
Can you
I
what?
can't. You go for it,
No.
mate.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be interviewing you, so you go for it.
No. I
I shouldn't
will.
interrupt you.
Please ask. And going back to what you said when I said earlier, when you're like, "Oh, I'm still feeling these things as I'm going through," specifically just saying what you were just saying is like, that is why. That is why, is because I'm like going through things and learning things and still growing. So it could feel like a little bit of annoyance that we talked about earlier, is because I thought that I was done, but like it's not. It's still changing because I'm seeing things now as an adult self that I didn't realize maybe at my younger self, or revisiting things, or having an experience and being like, I'm sifting through this. I don't know necessarily why I'm feeling this way or what's happening, but okay, I understand now. Or I'm having the realization that I'm still growing and there are things that I'm working on.
Okay. So
Sorry, that was very long-winded, Simon. I
no,
didn't mean to
not at
like
all.
take over fully, but
Let me let me try and let me try and sum up my thoughts on this. First off, um, there is still trauma in Simon,
oh yeah,
but uh, I'm
don't
not
trump on
Simon.
me.
I'm not Simon. I'm not
You're not
Simon.
Simon.
So I'm going to try this out with you, right? I want to try this out with you, okay? So you've heard this phrase, uh, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're one
One
spiritual being having 7 billion
seven
human experience.
hundred billion experiences. Yeah,
Right.
I've heard that.
Okay. So if we are all one spiritual being, okay, I'm not
Mhm.
Simon. I'm the spiritual being.
You
And
are
and the the initials are the same. I've just spotted this spiritual being and Simon
Simon.
Bennett.
Then.
Isn't that cool? So there's
Adrian
still
Burks,
trauma. There's
additional
still
being.
okay. Well, let me put it a different way, right? So let's just playing around here, right? I'd be
Yeah.
interested to hear what you think. Right? So there's trauma still in my body, right? There's trauma still in your body because in your
Mm-hmm.
body too, because you're,
100%. But
yeah, but it's coming out of your body. It,
yeah.
it's leaving in
Mm-hmm.
waves, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's coming out, and you're waving it goodbye, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a never-ending goodbye. every every day you get to wave,
Every day
you
there's
get
a
to get to
freaking
wave, and sometimes you feel that is really boring
yeah.
and frustrating, and
Yeah.
sometimes you think, "What? You mean life gets better?" So that's your mixed feelings, right? That's your mixed feelings, right?
Yeah.
So
You're in my are you in my brain?
I want to try. Sorry.
I said, are you in my brain right now?
Well,
Literally all of that.
we're both in each other's brain. Well, there's only it's
There's
one
only one
being.
unified brain, and we're
What
all
what, it's
yes.
what yeah, we're all segments of the same orange.
Mm-hmm. See, I feel like as you have this thought, I feel like we are all segments of the same orange, but a lot of the time we don't have that realization that we're actually one until we have those more shared or more broader understanding experiences that unify us. That's why we're all separated in these different fragments. You're Simon Ben, I'm Adrian Burks, my brother is Aaron, this and that, you're whoever, is because we all are made to be that we're individualized as much as we can. But realistically, is the unification of it all is when we all go like this, in a sense.
Yes,
It's that water droplets
totally
that
agree.
we leave in our bodies, but when we leave that and we're able to express, we're into the ocean as one bigger whole, in a sense.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Feel free to share more metaphors.
I love metaphors.
I am a metaphor junkie. I'm a metaphor junkie, but it's a good habit, right?
I agree. Simon Ben, I couldn't agree with you more, sir.
So
Metaphorically speaking.
give us some more metaphors.
I'll come up with some more as we engage and talk more. There'll be a lot more.
Well, yeah, I've got to call my mum in about 10 minutes,
Sun
but
drop. Boop, boop.
yeah. Um, so I want to, because you're a film
Mhm,
maker, you're a director, you're an actor, director, and producer. I want to try
mhm.
this. I want to try this one on with you. So, have you seen the film with Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs?
I have.
Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the story. Here's the metaphor. Here's the analogy. It's more of an analogy than a metaphor, right? So Michael Fassbender is at home,
Mhm,
and he he he's cool. Everything's going hunky dory for him in his life. He's just starting to find his niche. He's
mhm,
getting great roles. He's happy with his
mhm.
lot. Life is looking good. Family life is great. Yeah, okay. So Michael Fassbender is the uppercase S self in the end,
Ah,
right? Okay.
yeah,
So he's Big Simon or Big Adrian or Big Michael,
yeah.
right? He's the uppercase S self. He's the one.
Oh, I love this. I
He's
love.
the
I
orange.
think I know where you're
He's
going.
the orange of the segment. He's the orange segment, right?
Uh-huh.
He's feeling life like that. Then he he gets a call from his agent.
Agent.
His
Yeah.
agent said, "Hey, Michael, they're making this film about Steve Jobs, and you're up for it. Okay, you're up for it." And and Michael Fassbender said, I love my iPhone. I love my iPhone. I've had one since iPhone version one. I have an iMac. I have an iPad. I'm an Apple junkie. I love Apple. I love Steve Jobs. I want this role. I've got to play this role, right? So he immerses himself in the life
Mm-hmm.
of Steve
Of
Jobs,
Steve Jobs. Mm-hmm.
and
That's a good one.
he discovers that Steve Jobs was adopted,
Mm-hmm.
and he discovers what uh, what a difficult person Steve Jobs was
Steve Jobs was.
to work with. He 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 finds out all about his perfectionism. He finds out all about his desire to control stuff. He finds out about all the
What?
wars that he's fighting with all the music people that say that what's isn't going to work.
Yep.
The iPad. What's it? What do they
All
call
the
it?
licensing
iTunes.
and.
That's not going to work, right? And he immerses himself on it, and then he becomes the character
Mm-hmm.
to get the job of Jobs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And before long, he's so immersed in the method acting of this.
Mm-hmm.
He has all the neuroses, the insecurities, the control
The
freakery.
control freaky.
Enough.
Oh
He
yeah.
has the whole thing because and he comes home from comes from work one night. You know, he's been in the trailer all day, and he starts going on about all the problems that he's having, and his wife says, You don't have those problems. All those hang-ups, all those hang-ups, that stuff that you've got on going on with Samsung and all the music bosses and all the computer programmers that work for you that won't do what you told. You don't have any of those problems." And Steve Jobs said, "Yeah, I have. I have. I've got this ongoing legal dispute. I've got all these staff up in arms. I've got the union giving all this stuff." I like. She says that his wife says, "No, that's not your problem, Steve. Your problem is that you've forgotten who you are.
Mm. Yeah,
We have forgotten who
that is
we
amazing.
are."
Very, very, very profound. I figured this is where, in the way that you were going, and continue. I'm sorry. I
No, no,
agree.
that's it. That's it, right? So we just have to, all we need to do is wake up to who we are. There we are. So how do we
Exactly.
do that? How do we do that, Simon? Well, I don't know. Listen to podcasts like this. Right. They, and a full disclosure, this idea comes from my biggest teacher at the moment, a guy called Rupert Spira. But his story is about John Smith, an actor,
Mhm.
playing the role of King Lear,
Wow.
at war with the French, having
Mhm.
problems with his kids.
Mhm.
And it's the same. It's the same. I've just taken Rupert Spira's analogy and I've made it into an
Yeah.
adult related one. But we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten that we've that like
We can't help it. I mean, I think you can, but I mean, at the time when you're feeling that, it, going through, whatever the multitude of issues that adoptees go through, is that is, I feel like, can be one of the most challenging things, is to know who you are, to figure out this isn't your problem, or this isn't you just forgotten who you actually are through whatever circumstances that may
yeah.
have happened. Hmm.
And um, that that's the read the book No Bad Parts.
I'm gonna have
um,
to.
and and Richard Schwartz's genius on this, it's it's a yeah Richard Schwartz's genius is he characterizes the uppercase S self, right?
Hmm.
So he describes what it's like when we are being who we are, who we truly are,
uh
right?
I'll have to read
He's
this
got the
book. It sounds amazing.
seven C's, right? The seven C's. I won't be able to remember them all, but um, calm, confident, connected is the big one.
Hmm.
Forget about all of the other six. Connect,
Connected.
connected. We are in. I, we're two segments of the same orange, you and me, right? We're
Hmm.
connected to one another. We feel connected. We talk to fellow
Hmm.
Nazis, and we feel
Hmm.
connected because
Hmm.
we connect. And so many of us haven't felt connected
Yeah,
to our adoptive
that
parents.
was
There's
that was my
been
question that I was going to ask you, Simon. As like, did you? I mean, when is the first? And maybe it happened sooner, but when did you feel a more sense of connection? Because there was a long time that I just felt disconnected from. I mean, I'm a twin. I have a twin, so I always felt like I had that, and there was that connection, but I felt disconnected from a lot of other things and disjointed. It took me a while to feel like I was like, I'm actually not. I'm like, I'm more connected than I thought. Did you feel or have that realization, or did you
I
feel
I
disconnected for a long
felt
time?
connected. I felt connected, and everybody. Well, I didn't know that I was a segment of an orange.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Didn't know that. That didn't come till later in my life. Like you said,
Yeah.
it doesn't come to us till later,
Yeah.
in life, right?
Till later. Yeah.
But I felt connected to my parents. I my dad gave me a bit of hard time about certain things. Uh, so to give you one example, right? He he would. I've got slightly stooped. I'm slightly stooped. I don't stand up straight like I'm in the
Hmm.
army, right? And
Yeah.
he used to give me a hard time for that. And in those moments, I didn't feel connected with him when he's criticizing my stature, my posture,
Hmm.
right? But most
Hmm.
of the time, I felt connected
Hmm.
to to my brain. So the way the way I sum this up is there is no one primal wound, right? It's a scale.
Yeah.
It's a scale. Some people, I've sorry, listeners, if you heard this before. I feel like mine was a paper cut.
Mm, got you.
And I see some people that have, had they've had some, they've had to put some steri strip on it, and so other people they've got to have a band-aid. Some people have had to have a bandage. Some people have
Yeah.
had stitches. Some people, it's like some of the doctors, it feels like they've had their
Yeah.
leg chopped off, like in
Chopped off. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
bitten by Jaws, a great white shark,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there is no one primal wound. Everybody's, and
There's a scale of, yeah, that's
it's
what
a
I
scale.
100%.
It's a size.
Hmm.
And I also feel that the trauma that we feel from that uh, there's trauma in our households as well. So if we are raised by very unemotionally intelligent parents, who are saviors, who have been adopted us to build, to make their friends respect them at church on a Sunday because they've done this, like all that sort of stuff. I think it's impossible to separate relinquishment trauma with the trauma of growing up in a household where you are an ornament, should we say?
It isn't. The trauma is trauma. I mean, I feel like that there are different classifications of trauma, but for me, in a sense, trauma is trauma. I feel like what Aaron and I went through, we went through, there was some things that happened to us that I didn't fully understand later, that I was unaware of, and it all came into picture, but it understands that there was trauma there to made me, which was a lot of the cause of why I navigated certain things the way that I did. And then our first like situation of living with like someone else besides our adopted mom, our first foster mom, there was some extremely traumatic experiences that we had with her, which is why we were removed from there. And those things are both trauma, whether you look at it,
Yeah,
no matter which way you look at it.
yeah,
And like you said, the scale is 100%. Like you know, mine was a little bit deeper on some things that happened to us, even
yeah.
from our first foster mom, and
It's layers.
but
Let me
yes.
it's layers, right? So let me
Hmm.
switch analogies, right? So it's like a layer cake. It's like a
Hmm.
layer cake. So, in terms of the relinquishment trauma, that
Hmm.
has different people have different thicknesses of
Yeah,
trauma, and then
I agree.
you've got other trauma as well. So the trauma that went on in in this short-term foster,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And then you've
yeah,
got trauma that goes on for other stuff, and like if you're a transracial adoptee, if you got an
yep,
international adoptee, if you got
yep.
like if you grew up in
If
a,
you know your parents, if you don't know your parents,
yeah,
there's
all
so
this
many
different,
different compounding
it's
factors. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's all different layers,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but it's all one cake.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's all one cake. There are different layers, compounding 100%.
And the good
Couldn't
news
agree with you more.
And the good news is that we're not the cake, we're the cake stand.
We're the one. Oh, I love that. That is another good one. Another one.
Another one, right? Um, so
We are the cake stand.
we're the cake stand, right?
I
So we
love
are not
that.
our trauma. We are bigger than our trauma. We're not our trauma, right? Okay.
Agreed.
So I do need to call my mum. So I want you to share.
Hmm.
I told people at the start of the interview, and then I haven't given you enough chance to talk about this. So tell me about the film that you're making.
Oh, yes. I am making a documentary called Finding Home. And really answering is we've always had a home in a sense, no matter where we're looking at. Either it's the exploration of finding it or we've had it this whole time. But it's a documentary on connecting with not just with your biological roots in a sense. And that could be look away in many different ways. It could be finding your biological parents, which there is someone in the documentary that we're covering who has never met his parents, has no connection with them at all. Part of it, or traveling, me and my brother and I, who haven't met our father, are taking a road trip to go meet him and ask him questions. So finding him and getting to the point of like, who are you? Can you tell us your story? What happened? And sharing an experience of adoptees on a plethora scale. It's covering the whole diaspora of what it means to be adopted for them. And we pose questions as the people who didn't birth you. Is there a connection? Yes, no, why or why not? And exploring those questions and hopefully raising more. But that's what the documentary is. It's interviewing adoptees to connect with their biological roots on whatever scale that means to them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put some links in the show notes, right? Because you're doing some crowdfunding on this, and
Yes.
yeah. So I would encourage people just to check out the. I always not. I sometimes forget to say this, but check out the show notes, definitely
Yes.
uh, on this
Please do.
occasion, and do what if you like the sound of what Adrian's doing, then help him share this on socials or whatever you don't need to when nobody's begging you for money here, right? Just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
do what you feel do what feels right to you if you want to
One hundred percent.
support this
100%. And we go live next week from our crowdfunding campaign. And we also have our social media, which I'll post. Even you don't have to, we're not begging for money. Just give it a look if it connects or not. I know it connects to me and a lot of people that I'm talking to, and kind of the sponsorship of adoption agencies and stuff that we are talking to. So yeah, if there's any connection and you feel free just to want to watch and view, amazing. I would love that.
yeah. Okay, so links in the show notes as always. And is there anything else that you'd like to share? Any maybe a metaphor that's popped up for you
Damn, Simon, don't do this to me. No.
I'm putting him on the spot.
A metaphor that means to me, honestly, this game of life, it feels like a sport to me. I often have felt like the football that was passed around from thing to thing, which is what makes sense for like why I was so intrigued by it, of going from place to place and playing both sides of the ball, trying to figure out and come up right with one whole goal is to win, regardless of you think of it as not. You're passed around from place. This is what I felt like when talking to, pass around from person to thing until finding that home. But ultimately, the whole goal for all of us is to win, and that could look like whatever it wants for you. It doesn't necessarily have to get the W on the game, but it could be the friendships and relationships that you build on the team. It's a win for me, and that's kind of how I feel.
Does
I feel like my game is a sport. My
does
life is
big
a sport.
yeah does big does big Adrian feel at home?
Feel at home, you said?
Yeah,
Big Adrian feels at home.
I'm going to go even further than that, right? I think
Okay.
Big Adrian is home.
What are you going to say? Is home?
Big Adrian is home.
Uh-huh. When you put it that way, Big Adrian is home
Yeah,
on a lot of different ways. I'm home. And I'm home for other people,
yeah,
which
you are.
makes me feel at home.
Yeah, you're at home together,
Uh-huh. Thank you,
connected,
Simon. Guys,
connected, right?
Simon is a kind of, you guys don't realize this, but maybe you do. But not only is Simon very powerful in the way he speaks and his experiences, but he's also a little bit of a guru. If you didn't understand that, I feel like there's some like therapist things that he does.
You
Where I'm like,
need. I'll tell you what you need to do is if you know you need to tell everybody, right? Because
yeah,
I'm an what do we call it? I'm an acquired taste.
acquired taste.
An acquired taste. Yeah, no, part of me, one of the biggest things I uh, have found more peace with is the numbers, right?
Yeah,
Is is
yeah,
is, is the numbers and the fact that it's all about quality, not quantity.
not
Listeners,
quantity.
I
Yeah,
can't do this any other way than I feel is best for it. But it's
I agree.
this is a minority, right? This is
Hmm.
a minority podcast.
Yeah,
This is not like the big story podcasts out there. This is it's a minority sport. Yeah.
my spot.
Yeah.
Uh,
With limited appeal, but we've got to do
yeah,
what feels right for us, and what you're doing feels right for you.
yeah.
And to end on a slightly different note, you listeners, you do need to check out the show notes and check out what Adrian's doing, and check out a picture of Adrian and see if you too think that he looks like Rio Ferdinand.
He told me this a couple weeks ago when we
Did
initially
I?
talked, guys, and yeah, and I was like, oh, and, I looked at the picture. I was like, damn, that was good.
There we go.
I was like, damn, that was a good one. I kind of do.
Good on you,
By the way,
Adrian.
Simon,
Thanks.
I'm gonna put you in a part of my documentary as well, and we'll talk as we get through. But you're very much a part of this as well, if you don't mind.
I'm up for it. No question.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
okay.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, listeners. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you. Cheers, Simon.